I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I didn't even cry when I saw the confirmation email. I just sat there on the edge of my bed, staring at my phone, feeling something inside my chest quietly collapse. Your trip to Miami is confirmed. My trip, booked on my airline miles, for the woman who cheated on me and the man she cheated with. And that's when I realized something. Terrifyingly calm. I wasn't going to cancel their vacation. I was going to let them fly there first. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted, if you've ever been made to feel small, disposable, or stupid by the person who claimed to love you, then you're going to want to hear this all the way through. Because sometimes justice doesn't come with yelling or revenge fantasies. Sometimes it comes with patience, timing, and one quiet phone call. Hit like, subscribe, and settle in, because this is one of those stories that stays with you. The first thing I noticed was the silence. Not the peaceful kind, the kind that presses on your ears until you feel like something's wrong with the world. Her side of the closet was empty. No dresses, no shoes kicked halfway under the bed, no familiar citrus and vanilla smell lingering in the air, just bare hangers gently swaying like they didn't know what they were missing yet. I stood there longer than I should have, one hand gripping the doorframe, my stomach hollowed out like I'd missed a step going downstairs. A week earlier, this had still been our apartment. Now it felt like a crime scene where someone had taken everything important and left the body behind. That body was me. People always imagine cheating gets discovered in some dramatic way. Lipstick on collars, text messages lighting up at midnight, a stranger answering your partner's phone. For me, it was worse. It was boring. I was sitting on the couch, half watching some true crime documentary, half scrolling my phone. She was in the shower. Her iPad buzzed on the coffee table. Once, twice, then again. I wasn't snooping. I wasn't suspicious. I didn't even pick it up at first. But the third buzz was a notification preview that caught my eye. Can't stop thinking about last night. No name, just the message. My throat tightened like I'd swallowed something sharp. I told myself there was an explanation. There's always an explanation when you still love someone. I picked up the iPad. No passcode. She'd never bothered changing it. That should have been the first clue. The moment, everything tilted. The messages weren't subtle. They weren't flirty. They were intimate in a way that felt invasive, like I was reading something not meant for human eyes. Inside jokes, plans, photos, and then the line that cracked something open in my chest. He's so clueless. He has no idea. I remember the physical sensation of that sentence. Heat rushing up my neck, my hands going cold, my heartbeat stuttering like it had forgotten what rhythm was. I wasn't angry yet. I was embarrassed, humiliated, like I'd been walking around naked in public and everyone else had known. The confrontation. She came out of the bathroom wrapped in a towel, hair dripping onto the carpet. She saw my face. Her expression changed instantly. Not shock, not guilt, calculation. "What's wrong?" she asked, already knowing. I held up the iPad. She didn't even pretend, didn't rush to explain, didn't apologize. She sighed. A sigh, like I'd inconvenienced her by finding out. "It's not what you think," she said. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because if I didn't, I was going to break something. "Then explain it," I said. My voice didn't sound like mine. She crossed her arms, defensive, cold. "I've been unhappy for a while." There it was, the cheater's favorite justification. "You could have told me," I said. "You could have left." She shrugged. "It just happened." That shrug hurt more than the messages. The other guy. I asked who he was. She hesitated just long enough to tell me it mattered. "His name's Ryan," she said. "He's a DJ." Of course he was. A freelance DJ, which I later learned meant he played 2 bar gigs a month and lived in someone's basement. She met him through friends. They connected. She said all of this like she was narrating a rom-com. I asked how long. She didn't answer immediately. "Long enough," she said finally.
That was when the anger hit. Not explosive, not screaming. It was heavy, dense, like something sinking slowly into my organs. The breakup that wasn't clean. I didn't kick her out. I didn't throw her things into the street. I just shut down. She packed while I sat on the couch, staring at a blank TV screen. Every zipper sound felt like a nail being driven in. Before she left, she paused at the door. "I hope you'll be okay," she said. I didn't look at her. The door closed, and just like that, 6 years collapsed into quiet. The days after. I didn't sleep much that week. Food tasted like cardboard. My phone felt heavier every time I picked it up, like it might hurt me again. I replayed conversations in my head, missed signs, red flags I'd painted white. I blamed myself for trusting, for providing,
For thinking loyalty was mutual. She moved in with him almost immediately. I found out through a mutual friend who tried to soften it like it wasn't brutal. "They seem happy," the friend said. That sentence lodged itself somewhere ugly inside me. The small mistake that changed everything. In my fog, I forgot something important. I didn't change my passwords. Not my email, not my airline account, not the things she'd had access to for years. I wasn't thinking about revenge. I wasn't thinking about protection. I was thinking about surviving the next hour without collapsing. That was my mistake, and it was about to become her problem. The email. It came 3 days later. Subject line, "Your Delta Airlines trip is confirmed." At first, I thought it was spam. I opened it. Miami. 2 tickets, round trip. 80,000 miles. My miles. Miles I'd saved for years, skipping trips, flying budget, dreaming about someday. The names weren't mine. They were hers and his. My hands started shaking, not violently, just enough to tell me something inside had shifted. The realization. She hadn't just cheated, she hadn't just lied, she had used me. Even after everything, even after leaving, she saw my resources as still hers, as if I was just a tool she could keep reaching into whenever it suited her. And in that moment, standing alone in my apartment, phone glowing in my hand, I felt something new. Not rage, not sadness, clarity. The decision. I could have canceled immediately. One click, refund the miles, done. But something stopped me. A thought, quiet but sharp. No, let them go. Let them check in. Let them board. Let them toast with cheap champagne, thinking they'd won. And then I sat down, opened the flight tracker, and waited. I didn't sleep the night after the email. Not because I was spiraling, but because my brain wouldn't stop working. There's a difference. Spiraling is chaotic. This was precise. I lay on my back, staring at the ceiling fan as it clicked rhythmically above me, tracking time the way a prisoner does, by sound instead of clocks. Every few minutes, I picked up my phone, checked the flight details again. Delta flight DL4936. Departure time, 6:15 a.m. Gate assigned. Seats confirmed. 2 seats, side by side. A strange calm. The calm scared me. A week ago, I couldn't finish a sandwich without feeling nauseous. Now I was oddly centered. Like my body had finally accepted what my heart couldn't. She wasn't who I thought she was, and I didn't owe her grace anymore. I rolled onto my side and stared at the indentation on the mattress where she used to sleep. I remembered the nights she'd lie there scrolling, smiling faintly at messages she said were group chats, the way she'd angle her phone away from me, the way I'd noticed but chosen not to push, because love makes you complicit in your own blindness. Morning comes. I was awake before my alarm. The sky outside the window was that dull gray blue that exists before the world commits to being awake. I made coffee I didn't really want and stood in the kitchen, mug warming my hands. My phone buzzed. A text. From her. Her. Hey, weird question. Did you do something with the Delta account? My thumb hovered over the screen. I felt a flicker of adrenaline. Sharp. Electric. They hadn't boarded yet. I checked the tracker. Boarding in 30 minutes. I didn't reply. I turned my phone face down and took a slow sip of coffee. The power shift. That's when it hit me. For the first time since everything blew up, I wasn't reacting. I was ahead. She didn't know yet. She was probably at the airport, dragging a carry-on behind her, laughing with him, feeling victorious. Maybe she'd even told him about me. He was so boring. He never appreciated me. He'll be fine. People rewrite history fast when it benefits them. I imagined her showing Ryan the boarding passes on her phone. "See, first class," she might have said, smug. "I told you I had it handled." Using my miles like they were Monopoly money. The boarding notification. My phone buzzed again. "Delta, your flight is now boarding." Something twisted pleasantly in my chest. Not joy, not revenge yet. Anticipation, like the slow inhale before jumping into cold water. Memories that fuel the fire. As they boarded, my mind replayed moments I'd buried. The time she laughed when I told her how many miles I'd saved. "Why do you even care?" she'd said. "We'll just use them eventually." We. The time she pressured me not to visit my parents because she needed a vacation. The way she never once offered to contribute to shared expenses, just assumed. I'd told myself love meant giving without keeping score. Turns out, I'd just been keeping receipts for later. I watched the little airplane icon on the tracker begin to move, taxiing, then accelerating, then airborne. I imagined the moment the plane lifted, the subtle push into the seat, the city shrinking beneath them, her probably squeezing his hand, excited, free. Untouchable. I let the plane gain altitude, let it cross state lines, let them relax. Why I waited. People might ask why I didn't cancel before they left. Why not spare myself the stress? The truth is simple. I needed them to feel safe first. Betrayal steals your sense of control. It makes you feel like life is happening to you instead of with you. Waiting was how I took that back. The call I almost didn't make. I paced my living room as the flight crossed the halfway mark. Every step echoed in the empty space. I picked up my phone, put it down, picked it up again. There was a moment, a very real one, where guilt tried to creep in. Is this too much? What if something goes wrong? Then I remembered her shrug, that sigh. He's so clueless. My jaw clenched. I dialed Delta. Customer service. After the automated menu and a few minutes of hold music, a calm professional voice answered. "Thank you for calling Delta Airlines. This is Melissa. How can I help you today?" I swallowed. My frequent flyer account was compromised, I said evenly. Unauthorized tickets were booked. "Okay, sir. Let me pull up your account." I gave her the details. She paused. "Yes, I see the reservation," she said. "These tickets don't appear to be in your name." "That's correct. I didn't authorize them." Another pause. Longer this time. I could hear typing. My heartbeat thudded in my ears, not with fear, but with something like focus. "I'm very sorry this happened," Melissa said. "Since the miles were redeemed from your account and the passengers don't match the account holder, we can void the return portion immediately and restore the miles." Immediately. That word landed like a gift. "Yes," I said, "please do." "Done," she replied. "The return flight has been canceled and your miles have been restored." I closed my eyes, exhaled. Aftermath, quietly. "That's it?" I asked. "That's it," she said. "Is there anything else I can help you with today?" "No," I said. "That was perfect." We hung up. The apartment felt different now, lighter, like a storm had passed without making a sound. The first missed call. It took 20 minutes. Then my phone buzzed. Incoming call. Her name. I didn't answer. Another call. Then another. Then a text. Her. "Hey, the app is acting weird. Did you seriously do something?" I imagined them landing, pulling out their phones. That first moment of confusion. I didn't respond. Reality sets in for them. I checked one-way flights, Miami to home, peak season, $600 each, tomorrow. No discounts, no miles, just cold, hard numbers. I smiled for the first time in days. The texts came faster now. Her. "Why isn't the return flight showing? Are you being petty? Answer me." The word petty almost made me laugh. She'd stolen from me, and I was petty for closing the door. The final call. She called again. I let it ring. Then blocked the number. Just like that. Silence returned. I ordered a pizza, extra cheese, sat on the couch, and waited. The pizza arrived faster than I expected. I tipped the delivery guy more than usual, not because I was generous, but because I didn't want to talk. I wanted the door to close again. I wanted silence. I sat on the couch with the box open on the coffee table, the smell of grease and garlic filling the room. My phone buzzed. Blocked number. Blocked number. Blocked number. Voicemails still came through. I didn't listen yet. I chewed slowly, staring at the wall, imagining what was happening 1,300 miles away. The moment it clicked, for them. I pictured them at the Miami airport, the air thick with humidity, the smell of sunscreen and jet fuel, people laughing, rolling suitcases, heading toward hotels and beaches. She probably opened the app first, frowned, refreshed, closed it, reopened it. "That's weird," she might have said. Ryan leaning over her shoulder, still relaxed, still smiling. "Probably just a glitch," he'd say. "Airlines are trash." Then the realization. No return flight. Not delayed, not rescheduled, gone. I imagined her heartbeat picking up, that shallow, tight-breasted panic she always got when things slipped out of her control. She'd search her email, scroll faster. The confirmation. Then nothing. Denial phase. The first instinct is always denial. This can't be real. There must be a mistake. She'd march up to the counter, voice already edged with irritation. "Hi, our return flight isn't showing up." The agent would type, nod slowly. "I'm sorry, ma'am. It appears your return was canceled." Canceled. Such a small word for such a big moment. Canceled by who? She'd snap. The agent would look at the screen. The account holder. When blame turns sideways. That's when she'd know. Not suspect. No. Her stomach would drop. She'd look at Ryan, not with affection, not with excitement, but with calculation. He'd still be confused. "What's going on?" he'd ask. And she'd feel it then, the humiliation. Not just that she was stuck, but that her mess was now visible. The side piece cracks. Ryan wasn't built for pressure. Guys like him never are. He was great when everything felt like a party, when life was all late nights and loud music and zero responsibility. But now? Now there were numbers, deadlines, consequences. Wait, how much are tickets? She'd check. Her face would go pale. 600 each? That's like insane. That's like more than my rent. And there it was, the unspoken truth they'd been ignoring. The money problem.
She had less than $200 in her bank account. I knew that for a fact. She'd complained about it constantly when we were together, always blaming inflation, her job, anything except her spending habits. Ryan, he lived gig to gig. Cash app payments, exposure, free drinks instead of actual money. This wasn't a hiccup. This was a wall. Panic sets in. That's when the calls would start. Not angry yet, desperate. She'd step away from the counter, fingers shaking as she dialed. Me. The audacity would still be there, the assumption that I'd fix it, that I was still her safety net. The voicemail I finally listened to. After the third slice of pizza, I picked up my phone. I opened the voicemail. Her voice came through thin and strained. Hey, okay, I don't know what's going on, but we're at the airport and the return flight is gone. If this is some kind of mistake, you need to fix it. This isn't funny. Not please, not I'm sorry, just expectation. I deleted it. The shift in tone. The next voicemail was different, faster, higher. Seriously, answer your phone. We're stuck here. Ryan has a gig tomorrow. You can't just do this. You can't just do this. The irony tasted better than the pizza. Cracks in the fantasy. I imagined the fight that followed. Not loud, sharp. Ryan pacing, running his hair through his hair. I told you not to mess with him. Why would you use his account? I didn't think he'd notice, she'd snap. Notice, as if I were furniture. The powerlessness comes full circle. That's the thing about betrayal. You don't just lose trust, you lose agency. You feel like decisions are being made about you, not with you. Now it was their turn. Every option bad, every door expensive, every solution humiliating. Her final attempt. The last voicemail came an hour later. Her voice was quieter now, tired. Okay, look, I get that you're mad, but this is serious. We don't have the money. If you don't fix this, I don't know what we're going to do. That sentence did something to me. Not guilt, relief. Why I didn't respond. People think revenge is about cruelty. It's not. It's about restoring balance. She'd acted like my time, my loyalty, my resources were hers to consume. I didn't yell, I didn't insult her. I simply stopped saving her from the consequences of her own choices. The night ends. I shut my phone off, washed my hands, turned off the lights. For the first time in days, I slept. Not deeply, but without the knot in my chest. Meanwhile, in Miami, they probably spent the night in a cheap motel, arguing, blaming, the beach just a few blocks away, but unreachable, because paradise isn't paradise when you're trapped. I woke up the next morning with sunlight spilling across the bedroom wall. It took a second to remember why that felt different. Then it hit me. I hadn't woken up with dread, no spike of anxiety, no instinct to check my phone, no rehearsed arguments playing in my head. Just quiet. The kind of quiet you don't realize you've been missing until it shows up. The phone stays quiet. I turned my phone back on. No new voicemails, no texts, no missed calls from unknown numbers. That told me everything I needed to know. The panic phase was over. Now they were in the aftermath phase, the part where reality sinks in and there's nothing left to say that hasn't already been said. Imagining their morning. I could picture it easily. A cheap motel room that smelled faintly of mildew and stale air conditioning, curtains half open, letting in too much Florida sun. Ryan sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at his phone, refreshing his bank app like it might magically change. Her pacing, arms folded tight,
jaw clenched. No beach plans, no cocktails, just a countdown clock in both their heads. The unavoidable conversation. This is the part people never think about when they cheat. The logistics. Because betrayal is easy when everything's hypothetical. It gets harder when you're stranded in a city you can't afford to leave. She'd finally say it. We might have to ask him. Ryan would freeze. Ask me. The guy she told him was boring. The guy she'd said didn't matter anymore. Now, suddenly essential. That kind of whiplash breaks illusions fast. The side piece sees the truth. Ryan wasn't in love with her. He was in love with the fantasy version of her, the one who came with no consequences, no bills, no accountability. Now she came with problems, and he'd start doing the math. How many gigs would it take to cover $1,200 in flights? How long would it take to rebuild after that? Suddenly, she wasn't an escape. She was an anchor. The text that finally came. Late that afternoon, my phone buzzed. A text from an unfamiliar number. I knew who it was anyway. Her. I shouldn't have used your miles. I panicked. I'm sorry. That was it. No explanation, no justification, just a quiet admission that she'd crossed a line. I stared at the screen for a long time, not because I didn't know what to do, but because I realized something important. I didn't need to respond. Closure doesn't always come with words. There's this idea that closure requires a conversation, an apology, a resolution. That's a lie we tell ourselves so we can keep engaging with people who hurt us. Sometimes closure is just knowing you're not powerless anymore. I locked my phone, set it down, and went for a walk. The world feels bigger again. The air outside felt different, sharper, like I'd been underwater for weeks and had finally surfaced. I noticed things again. The sound of traffic, the weight of my steps on the sidewalk, the way my shoulders didn't feel as tight. I passed a couple holding hands and didn't feel that familiar stab of bitterness, just neutrality. That surprised me. The final fallout I heard about later. I didn't find out what happened next until weeks later. A mutual friend mentioned it casually, like it wasn't seismic. She said, they didn't last. Apparently, Ryan blamed her. She blamed him. The money stress turned every small annoyance into a fight. By the time they scraped together enough to get home, separate flights, days apart, the fantasy had burned itself out. No mystery left. No thrill, just resentment. What she lost and what I didn't. She lost the safety net she took for granted. The guy who planned ahead, who saved, who absorbed stress so she didn't have to. Ryan lost interest once things stopped being fun. And me? I got something I hadn't expected. Peace. The miles still there. A month later, I logged into my Delta account. Every single one was there. I booked a solo trip. Window seat, no rush, no one else's expectations attached to it. Just mine. The flight that meant something. As the plane took off, I felt that same lift in my chest I'd imagined them feeling weeks earlier. But this time, it was real. Earned. I looked out the window as the city shrank beneath me and thought about how close I'd come to letting someone else define how this story ended. I smiled. Not because I'd won, but because I was finally free of it. The revenge wasn't loud. It didn't involve screaming or public humiliation. It was quiet, precise, and unavoidable. They landed believing they'd gotten away with it. And within minutes, the ground disappeared beneath them. No escape, no safety net, no one to blame but themselves. Justice didn't shout. It simply closed the door and walked away.
Here's the thing. Revenge isn't about hurting someone back. It's about reminding yourself that you're not obligated to protect people who actively harm you. I didn't ruin their trip. They did when they decided my boundaries didn't matter. Sometimes the most powerful response isn't anger, it's letting consequences do their job. If this story hit something in you, if you've ever been underestimated, betrayed, or taken for granted, hit that like button, drop a comment, and tell us what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever witnessed or wished you could pull off. And make sure you subscribe to Taking Revenge Hour for more stories where karma doesn't miss. Because some lessons are expensive, and some are priceless.